Mr. Dalmau for his statement and the information he has provided to the committee. I now give the floor to Mr. Walter Alomar. You have the floor, please.
Thank you, committee members. My name is Walter Alomar. I'm the president of the Organization for Culture of Hispanic Origins. I am both honored and saddened to be here today. I am honored as a member of the Puerto Rican community to stand up for my people and ask for what I know they deserve, to have their island returned to them, and to be a free nation. I take that responsibility very seriously, and I am honored to be able to be a voice for my people in demand for my country's freedom. However, I am sad and frankly angry that I am forced to do this yet again, because being here means that we have failed. It means that I have failed, and frankly, you all have failed to give Puerto Rico what it rightly deserves, its freedom. How many times will we have to come back here and have the same conversation? How many times will I have to come to you and demand you allow the people of Puerto Rico to live as a free nation? For the record, I will continue to come and to petition until such day that the island is free or I can no longer physically stand here. But I think it's somewhat ridiculous that for years we have collectively all asked, pleaded, demanded the same thing while having everyone in this room agree, yet we can't seem to move past this room. And so here we are for another year. When discussing independence of Puerto Rico, the island is always looked as a burden. But what about the burden the United States puts on the people of Puerto Rico? The financial, social, environmental, and psychological burdens. Not only should we be free, we should be collecting reparations from our captors. We should be compensated for the land that has been stolen, the goods that have been pillaged, the resources that have been robbed. Giving us the independence is the tip of the iceberg. You want to talk about a burden, let's talk about the burden that the colonial status continues to place on the people of Puerto Rico by allowing laws like Act 20 and 22 to produce tax breaks for the wealthy U.S. elites. United States-based businesses are operating on the island, generating millions in revenue and not paying any taxes. And we wonder why the power went out during Maria and stayed out for over a year. Do you think you would have seen a year-long power outage in the predominantly white communities of Connecticut, which is roughly the same size of Puerto Rico? Of course not, because Puerto Rico is not a slave, because Connecticut is not a slave to the U.S. It is the U.S. Connecticut is not made up of poor black and brown folks. It is largely comprised of white communities that matter in the U.S. And at the end of the day, it is not that Puerto Rico and its people are a burden, it's that we are property. Property that the U.S. is not willing to give up. This is modern day slavery, and anyone who remains complicit in it is guilty. I am tired of people calling the dynamic between the U.S. and Puerto Rico a complicated relationship. It is not complicated, it is abusive, it's catastrophic, it's traumatic. It is not complicated. In fact, it's quite simple. And in turn, the answer to the problem is also simple. Remove our colonial status. This committee exists for the sole reason that the colonial rule has been deemed unconstitutional and a violation of human rights. Puerto Rico is under colonial rule. How then do we allow this to continue? How does the colonial status remain? Many times people lean on the idea that it would be too difficult for the island of Puerto Rico to operate independently. That is a convenient lie made up by the corporate elites, when in fact the real reason is that the U.S. does not want to give up its stolen property. But I am here to tell you today that we are not token on your monopoly game board. We are a nation of free people, and it is time that we are recognized as such. Que viva Puerto Rico libre.
I thank Mr. Alomar for his